guys, and welcome back to the Twisted Siblings podcast, episode 11. Every time I say an episode, I can't believe we're on to that episode already. Like, how has it been 11 weeks? Crazy. Today is Kelly's turn to tell the story. I actually don't know anything about the story. But just a quick reminder and disclaimer that listeners' discretion is definitely advised on all of these stories that you listen to, because they are going to contain some probably gruesome, hard to hear pieces of information. So that is your warning. You can listen to us anywhere you get any of your podcasts. So that's Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you normally listen to your podcast. We air every Monday, 7 a.m. And the best way you can help us, it's completely free and takes you a few seconds, is you can just leave us a lovely little 5-star review if you did enjoy it, or a little comment so that we can read. We enjoy seeing what you say. Or you can catch us on Instagram at the Twisted Siblings podcast, where you can see any updates. We do little teasers. You can send us any cases that you might want us to cover and give us any feedback. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Kelly, where she's going to tell us today's story.
Hello. So, today I'm telling the story about the Pan family. Don't know if you've heard this one before.
I feel like I know the Pan family, but I maybe when you start telling it, I'll recognise. But it does ring a bell. But as far as I know right now, I don't remember.
Okay. All right then. So, Bikha Pan, and I don't know if it said like Huey or Hugh. It's Huei. Hugh Han Pan, but he is referred to as Han, were both Vietnamese immigrants who moved to Canada in 1979. They married in Toronto and lived in Scarborough, where they had 2 children. So Jennifer was the first, who was born in 1986, and Felix, who came 3 years after in 1989. So the Pans strived for success when they'd immigrated to Canada, and they were able to achieve this. They both worked for Magna International, where Han was a tool and die maker. Not sure what a die maker is, but it's a like auto part manufacturers, and that's what Bic did. She made the car parts. So together they saved really hard. They lived quite a thrifty life, and by 2004 they had enough money saved to buy a nice large house, nice cars, in an area in Markham, Greater Toronto, and they had healthy savings of approximately $200,000. So they'd done really well in their life.
Wow, yeah.
So they were both mainly Han, described as tiger parents. So this is a term used to describe an authoritative method of parenting, where basically social activities are forbidden, and children are instead encouraged to focus on their studies. And this was true for Jennifer. So her parents had extremely high expectations for her. She was enrolled into various extracurricular activities from the young age of 4, such as piano lessons and figure skating, which she actually did really well at. But I think when she was older, she had an accident where she injured her Achilles heel, so she was no longer able to do the figure skating. She also played in the school band, where she played the flute, and these sort of activities were really encouraged. By the time Jennifer started high school, she was very closely monitored by her parents. They would take her to and from school. She was never allowed to attend any school dances. She wasn't allowed to date boys or go out with any friends. She literally was allowed to go to school or doing her sort of extracurricular activities and then back home again, because her parents believed if she did any of these, it would distract her from her studies. So, I know it seems very harsh.
It's not really a life for a child, though, isn't it?
It's not. And I did read something as well that, like, by the age of 22, she'd never, like, been out with any friends. She'd never been to, like, a dance or, like, got drunk or any parties or anything like that. She literally just school and home again. But it did seem that this parenting was working. And Jennifer was a straight A student at school, and then she went on to receive a scholarship at the University of Toronto for a pharmacology course. But on the evening of November the 8th, 2010, the Pan's life took a turn for the worst when 3 men broke into their property. And in a robbery gone wrong, both Han and Bick were shot. After entering the property, the 3 men ransacked the house and demanded money. Knowing her parents kept money in the house, Jennifer gave them the money they asked for. They then tied Jennifer to the banister and took Han and Bick to the basement, where they then tied them up and shot them multiple times before fleeing the property. Now, in a lot of the things I've read, I've never heard mention of the brother, so I'm not sure if he was out when this was happening. But none of the articles sort of detail that he was there, so I'm assuming he probably was out. So a terrified Jennifer managed to get her phone from the waistband of her pockets and call 911, which I've actually got a recording from. So I'll play that now so you can hear it. So I don't know if you could hear in the background there, you can actually hear her dad screaming for help, and she's shouting down, and obviously she sounds absolutely distraught.
Oh, I've got chills.
I know,
I've literally got shivers all over my body.
So
horrible.
Police and ambulances arrive at the house, and sadly Bick, which is the mum, was pronounced dead at the scene. But as you could hear, her dad miraculously did manage to survive the attack. He was taken to hospital and then airlifted to a bigger hospital where he was placed into a medically induced coma. So the following evening, police take Jennifer to the police station for questioning to get a statement on sort of what happened. She goes through all of the events in great details, and although the police initially believed her story, they were left feeling puzzled on exactly how Jennifer was able to get her phone from her waistband when she said that her hands were tied to the banister.
No, stop it.
So the following night, November the 10th, the police bring Jennifer back in again, and they ask her to demonstrate how she was able to reach her phone. So she reenacts this for the police, and then as she's doing it, she sort of changes her story. She starts saying, like, well, it wasn't, my hands were tied up higher and one was looser, so I was able to wiggle my hand down. And the whole reenactment just left police feeling certain that she wasn't telling the truth. 2 days later, on November the 12th, Han woke from his coma, and whilst talking to the police, he actually told them that he had seen his daughter whispering to one of the burglars as if they were friends. And with this information, police became adamant that Jennifer was somehow involved.
No.
I know, it's just awful. So on the 22nd of November, Jennifer was brought back in for questioning again, and the detective investigating this case told Jennifer that he knew she was involved, and Jennifer cracked and told the police everything. So it actually turned out that Jennifer's whole life had been a lie. So she was not the straight A student that her parents thought she was. Although she wasn't a bad student, her grades had just been average, and knowing her parents would not approve of this, she began forging report cards so that they wouldn't find out. After failing a calculus class in grade 12, her offer to Ryerson University was revoked, and panicked that her parents would find out she pretended, she said that she'd been offered a scholarship to Toronto University instead. To keep up the whole charade, Jennifer would actually spend all of her days in the cafes, and teaching piano lessons and working in a restaurant, so that she was out every day. And she even went as far as buying textbooks and watching videos on pharmacology so she could create notebooks and take notes for classes that she could show her parents. So they honestly had like no idea.
Isn't that just such, like, that is so time consuming? How do you manage to just fake a whole life? And how do you keep it up?
How do you remember like all the lies you've told and what you've said? And like, it's not even just one little thing either. It's like her whole life,
Yeah,
everything.
you'd have to jot it down, wouldn't you? What you said.
Yeah,
Because I would forget.
yeah, I would never, never be able to remember all of that. But she'd also pretended to her parents that she was staying on campus during the week at the university. But in actual fact, she had been dating and staying with a man named Daniel Wong. So he was a known drug dealer that she had actually met in high school. And it was with Daniel that she had hatched the plan to kill her parents, believing that if they were dead, she wouldn't need to come clean about her deception and would inherit £500,000 from her parents.
Oh my god.
I know. So both Jennifer and Daniel planned to hire a hitman to kill her parents. Daniel told Jennifer that he knew just the man, and he put her in contact with one of his friends called Lenford Rory Crawford. So Lenford agreed to the hit, and he contacted his friend, Sean Carty, to help. And in turn, Sean then contacted his friend, David Mulvaganam. I think that's how you say it. And together they came up with a plan to stage a robbery gone wrong. And they actually planned to do this while Jennifer was in the house and tie her up without killing her as well, so that she would have a perfect alibi. And my gosh, did she act that very well. I mean, you heard the 911 call. She actually sounded genuinely terrified, didn't she?
Yeah, I'm quite annoyed that I just got chills all over my body. I take them
I know.
back.
And
I'm fuming that was a lie.
hearing her dad as well, I just, how could you do that? I mean,
could you
I
do
understand
that
that
to
she
your
had a
family?
really, really strict upbringing, and sort of her friends had come forward and said that she just felt like her life was really restricted. She wasn't allowed to do anything. So I can imagine that could be really hard, but there's ways to get out of that, I'm sure, that do not involve killing your parents.
Yeah, exactly. And she was what? Did you say
22,
22?
I think,
21?
yeah.
She could have left. Like, you're a grown
Yeah,
adult at that point. You don't have to stay
just
at
move
home. You
out and
don't
go and
have to
live with
have
your
approval from
boyfriend.
your
Yeah,
parents. Like, but it was money, wasn't it? It's always money.
it's always money, which is sad. I should imagine that her boyfriend had a part to play in it as well. Well, we know he did, because he was the one who helped her come up with a plan and put her in contact with people. But I just can't believe that people go to that extent to just not admit that they told a lie. You know, you've lied. It's a really, really big lie, but just come clean.
Yeah, but you hear about it all the time, and that people would just rather get rid of someone than just come clean. Like, it's just a lie. Like,
I know.
it is just a lie. Like, you made a bad judgment call, you told a bad lie, but it's not the be all and end all, and they're your family and they love you unconditionally. They will forgive you.
I know. And the implications of committing murder, surely that has to be worse than the implications of lying.
Well, yeah, but I think these people think they can get away with it, which is why they do it. I think they're very naive, because I don't really understand how they think they're going to get away with it.
No.
I just think they think they're smarter than people.
Yeah. And I guess they're obviously not thinking straight to even consider planning a murder in the first place.
It's true.
So between April the 4th, 2011 and May the 4th, 2011, Daniel, Lenford, Sean and David were all arrested, and it took 3 years for them to actually go to trial. And on March the 19th, 2014, the trial began. This trial actually lasted for 9 months, but on December the 13th, 2014, Jennifer, Daniel, David and Lenford were found guilty, and each received a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years. So Sean, I don't know if he was one of the other ones that was in on it. He had originally been tried with the others, but his case had been declared a mistrial after his lawyer fell ill. So they had to wait to retry him, but in 2015, a year later, he actually just pleaded guilty to conspiracy to murder, because he said he didn't want to have to put Han, the dad, through another trial. And he was sentenced to 18 years in prison without the possibility of parole for 9 years. So I think he got a bit of a less sentence, but I think that's because he pleaded guilty and the others didn't. So I think Jennifer's actually still in prison now, and her dad and her brother have both took out like a restraining order on her, and she's not allowed to contact either of them, and I think neither of them have had any contact with her since.
Good, because I remember watching a program. I think it was one that Piers Morgan did, where he went in to see a man now, but he was a boy when he killed his sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he is now, I think there's a possibility of parole in a few years' time. But his dad had gone in to see him.
Must be really difficult though, mustn't it? Because effectively they'll have lost both children, won't they, if they don't ever speak to their others?
It's very true, but I don't know if I'd ever be able to forgive.
No.
But obviously you can't say if you're not in this. I think it was the mum, to be honest, that went in, not the dad. Sorry, I'm getting my facts wrong. But yeah, it's quite a good watch if anyone does fancy it. But yeah, you do see it quite a lot or hear about it quite a lot. The family members going in and forgiving them or visiting them, and I don't understand it myself. But again, we can never really
know how you would act unless you're in that situation. It's kind of like the impossible question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It must be really, really difficult if it's your child, because you do have an unconditional love for your child, don't you? But when they do something to someone else you have unconditional love for, it just must be the most impossible situation. But I've heard people saying before that they've chosen to forgive people just because carrying the anger around was actually more of a punishment for them. But
yeah, it's like coming to peace just for yourself more than anyone else.
More for them. I mean, hopefully we'll never actually have to be in that situation to know how we would act. But
no, exactly. But yeah, absolutely wild. So sad. And yeah, that recording though, I can't believe.
She sounded like genuinely terrified, didn't she? She was like screaming for help.
And she was listening to her dad like call out for help.
I know.
Knowing that her mum was, oh no. Because you think that even if you plan something like that, you get to a point when you think, actually, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
I can't kill my parents for a bit of money, and so I don't get caught out in my lie.
Okay, well, that was another disturbing story. And thanks for that. But yeah, that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed that, again, like I said at the beginning, please leave us a 5-star review. It doesn't take long at all. It's super easy to do, and it does mean a lot to us, and it will just help us continue to do this. So I'm looking forward to next episode. It will be me telling the story. If you have only just joined us, then we do alternate weeks. You can find us on Instagram at the Twisted Siblings Podcast, and anywhere you listen to your podcast. We come out every Monday, 7 a.m, and I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you again next time. Bye!
Bye!